Hey guys, tonight we're going to slip back through the smoky hearth of a medieval peasant's home where chickens scratch softly on dirt floors, children murmur in sleep, and the winter wind pushes through the cracks in the wattle walls like cold fingers against your cheek. You're here in a single dark room, lit by the glow of an ember, trying to find a warm spot to tuck your feet while feathers brush your ankles. And you're probably not going to survive this century without catching something questionable from that straw mattress. But let's not think about that just yet. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge across the uneven dirt floor, careful not to step on a chicken that decided your path was also its personal roosting zone for the night. In a medieval home, there isn't a bedroom, so much as there is one big room where everything happens: cooking, eating, mending, praying, fighting, birthing, and yes, sleeping. The hearth is in the center or off to one side, its smoky breath rolling under the thatched roof, clinging to your hair and clothes, making you cough softly as you pull a rough wool blanket around your shoulders. There are no glass windows to shut out the cold, only wooden shutters or scraps of cloth if you're lucky. The wind hums through the cracks, reminding you that winter is not gentle, and neither is poverty. It is precisely this cold that means you will spend your nights not just with your spouse if you have one, but with your children, your in-laws, and a scattering of chickens, and maybe a goat or two for good measure. It isn't just about comfort, it's about survival. Mainstream historians note that in medieval Europe, most peasants lived in single-room homes called hall houses, where the only divisions might be a curtain or a wooden partition, and even that was rare. The hearth provided heat and a place to cook, and it also served as the only real source of light in the long dark evenings when you couldn't waste a candle you couldn't afford. You can smell the layers of your world, the sharp tang of wood smoke, the warm musk of animals, the sourness of old straw, and the earthy dampness that comes from living this close to the ground. When you lie down, it's on a straw-stuffed mattress if you're lucky, on a wooden bench with a straw mat if you're less fortunate, or directly on the floor, wrapped in a rough blanket if that's all there is. You pull your cloak tighter, aware that your body heat is your currency shared with the others who lie beside you. You hear the chickens settle, a soft rustle of feathers, and an occasional sleepy cluck that cuts through the stillness. Their presence isn't an accident. Chickens were precious in the medieval household, providing eggs, occasional meat, and, as fringe historians like to point out, a surprising layer of warmth when they tucked themselves close to the family during the coldest months. Chickens, after all, give off heat, and heat is life. Historians still argue whether the bed sharing with animals was a deliberate act of warmth management or simply an unavoidable part of a peasant's cramped living conditions. The truth is probably both. There's practicality in letting your livestock share the warmth, especially in climates where frostbite could claim fingers and toes by dawn. And there's also the simple fact that there was nowhere else to put them. You're not alone in this room. Children fidget in their sleep, small bodies seeking out yours for warmth, feet pressing against your legs, a baby tucked against your chest, if you're the mother nursing softly in the dark. Your spouse might be next to you, snoring softly, or perhaps turning over to ease the stiffness of a body that's labored in the fields all day. The chickens settle near your feet, pressed close to your legs, or huddled in corners, feathers puffed against the cold. If there's a goat in the room, you'll hear its soft, rhythmic chewing, a comforting sound. that blends with the low crackle of the dying fire. You're tired, bone-deep tired from a day that started before dawn and ended with the last light, and your sleep is heavy. Despite the discomfort, despite the noises, despite the cold, there's a shared resignation in the air, a communal acceptance that this is how life is close crowded and alive with the sounds of family and animals breathing softly in the dark. Your mind drifts, lulled by the rhythmic breathing around you, the occasional sleepy cluck, the hiss of a log shifting in the fire. You notice the straw poking through the thin blanket, scratching your skin, and you sigh, adjusting your position to find a softer spot. Though it doesn't really exist. You know you will wake up with straw stuck to your hair, the scent of smoke in your clothes, and the imprint of the rough floor on your skin. This is the reality of medieval life. A world where you share everything: your food, your space, your warmth, and even your bed, not just with your family, but with the chickens that are as much a part of your survival as your own breath. Remember, you're here breathing in the soft darkness, surrounded by the quiet, fragile warmth of shared survival. You're drifting, letting the sounds of the medieval night wash over you. The chicken's soft rustle, a lullaby you didn't know you needed. Your eyes fluttering shut as the cold is held back by the thin barrier of shared bodies and feathered companions, just enough to let you rest. You blink awake to the low glow of coals barely alive in the hearth, the sharp scent of wood smoke biting your nose. It's still dark, the sort of darkness that feels like a heavy blanket over your eyes, and you shift carefully, mindful of the small feet pressed against your legs, the soft warmth of a child's back against your stomach. Then you feel it, a small feathery body wriggling near your ankles, a chicken resettling itself, feathers brushing against your shin as it puffs up to trap the heat leaking from your body into the cold air. The bed is not really a bed in the way you think of it now. It is a raised wooden frame, if you're lucky, filled with straw that needs to be changed whenever the smell grows too sour or the lice become too persistent. If you're less fortunate, it's simply straw on the ground, covered with a coarse linen sheet, or perhaps an old cloak that does double duty as your daytime outerwear. The medieval mattress is lumpy, uneven with straw that pokes through the fabric to scratch your skin, and the entire bed creaks if you shift too much, a low groan that might wake the baby pressed against you. This straw-stuffed mattress with its scratchy embrace is a luxury for many, a sign that you have something between yourself and the cold, hard ground, that you have enough straw left over from animal bedding to stuff a mattress for your family. You feel the lumps beneath you, the faint scent of earth and hay, mixing with the ever-present smoke that clings to your hair, your skin, your breath. It is here in this cramped, scratchy, straw-stuffed bed that the chickens come to find warmth. They hop up their small claws, scratching against the wooden edge or the layers of blankets, settling close to the warm bodies that promise survival during the long, cold nights. You can feel the heat radiating from their small bodies, a surprising warmth that seeps into your chilled skin, and you allow it, because in this world, warmth is worth more than comfort. Mainstream historians remind us that these shared sleeping arrangements were not just for convenience, but were often a deliberate choice in a world without central heating, where the fire in the hearth was the only source of warmth, and the nights were long and cold. The body heat of family members and animals was the medieval version of an electric blanket, a shared resource that could mean the difference between waking up with numb fingers or waking up ready to work the fields. You pull the rough blanket tighter around your shoulders, trying to keep the warmth in, as a draft sneaks in through the cracked shutters, brushing against your face with the cold breath of winter. You hear a chicken cluck, softly shifting its weight, and you know it is settling back down to sleep, its small, warm body pressed against your foot. The baby stirs a soft whimper in the dark, and you place your hand on its back, feeling the rise and fall of tiny breaths as it drifts back to sleep. Historians still argue whether the medieval bed was truly large enough to accommodate entire families' livestock and still leave room for any restful sleep. Some records suggest that beds were surprisingly wide, built to hold multiple people, while others argue that the cramped conditions meant that people simply layered themselves children on top of parents, chickens at the edges, creating a warm living quilt that shifted and breathed through the night. You can almost hear the soft rustle of feathers, the quiet sighs of sleeping children, the rhythmic breathing of your spouse beside you, all blending with the faint crackle of the dying fire. There's a simplicity in this moment, a stark contrast to the constant noise of the modern world, replaced here by the quiet living sounds of a family surviving the cold together. Your body aches from a day spent bent over in the fields or tending to animals, and the bed offers little comfort. But it is a place to lay your head, to close your eyes, to let your mind drift into the soft darkness. You can feel the straw poking through the thin linen, the rough blanket scratching against your skin, the small weight of a chicken shifting against your ankle, and you breathe in the smoky, earthy air, letting it fill your lungs, grounding you in the reality of this medieval night. A fringe tidbit that might surprise you: in some regions, people would sprinkle aromatic herbs like lavender or mint into the straw to mask the scent and discourage pests. A medieval attempt at creating a more pleasant sleeping environment, though it did little to stop the lice that inevitably found their way into the bedding. As you lie there, your eyes closing against the darkness, you think about how the chickens are not just passive occupants of your bed, but are part of the rhythm of your life. They will wake before dawn, their soft clucks turning into louder calls as they sense the morning light creeping into the world, becoming the alarm clock that signals the start of another day of labor, another day of survival. You shift again, careful not to disturb the baby or the chickens, and you let yourself drift into a half-sleep, the kind where dreams blend with the sounds of the room, where the rustle of feathers becomes the whisper of wind through the thatched roof, where the warmth of the bodies around you becomes a cocoon against the cold. You are here in this medieval world, sharing your bed with chickens, your family, and the soft sounds of the night. You're breathing in the warm, smoky air, feeling the gentle weight of a chicken pressed against your foot, the quiet breathing of your child against your chest, and you let the softness of the moment wrap around you as you drift the straw mattress beneath you, the rough blanket above you. The world outside, held at bay for just a few hours of rest. You wake to a muffled rustling in the dark, the sound of small feet scuttling across the straw, and the shifting weight of a child rolling closer to you in sleep. The hearth glows faintly, shadows flickering against the low ceiling, painting the wattle walls with soft, shifting shapes. Somewhere nearby, a chicken gives a soft, complaining cluck, fluffing its feathers before settling again, and you let your eyes close, pulling the rough blanket up to your chin. You're lying in what passes for a bed, but it's more like a shared platform of warmth and survival, a living quilt of bodies and breath. The medieval family bed is a space of constant negotiation, a patchwork of limbs and quiet whispers of shifting bodies and shared warmth. It's where you, your spouse, your children, and yes, even your chickens, find a fragile comfort against the cold that presses in from the night outside. The arrangement is a hierarchy in itself, one shaped by practicality, custom, and the quiet rules of survival. Mainstream historians note that parents would often sleep closest to the walls or the drafty window, forming a protective barrier for the younger children tucked between them. Infants might be swaddled and placed beside their mothers for easier nursing in the dark hours, while older children pressed against parents or each other, creating a layered breathing warmth that defied the bitter cold. And at your feet, or sometimes tucked beneath the edge of the blankets, are the chickens. You feel their small warmth, like living hot water bottles, their feathers, a soft contrast against the rough scratch of the straw. Their steady breathing merging with the slow rhythm of the family's collective breath. In a world where heat is precious and hard-won, every warm body counts, feathered or not. Your spouse's arm rests heavily across your waist, and a small foot nudges into your ribs as a child shifts in sleep, seeking the comfort of your warmth. The air is thick with the scent of smoke and the slightly sour tang of sweat and straw, layered with the earthy musk of the animals that share your space. It isn't pleasant, but it is familiar. And in this world, familiarity is its own comfort. Historians still argue whether the chickens and other small livestock were intentionally invited into the family bed, or whether their presence was simply a fact of life in cramped medieval homes. Some suggest that on the coldest nights, bringing a chicken or two under the blanket was a deliberate act, a practical solution to the biting cold. Others argue it was a necessity, a reflection of the lack of separate space for animals, a compromise between comfort and survival. You listen to the night, the soft shifting of bodies, the quiet breathing of your family, the occasional sleepy cluck or shuffle of feathers, and you understand how this layered, crowded sleeping arrangement is its own kind of closeness. A physical reminder of your shared struggle against the long, cold nights. A quirky tidbit from the fringe of medieval records tells of families who trained their chickens to roost at the foot of the bed, rewarding them with scraps during the day so they would return each evening, a living tradition that blurred the lines between pet livestock and companion in the cold. As you lie there, you can almost feel the way the chickens settle against your legs, seeking out the heat that seeps from your body into the straw. Their warmth seeps back into you, a small comforting cycle that eases the sting of the cold against your skin. You shift slightly, careful not to disturb the baby's soft breathing beside you, or the chicken tucked against your ankle, and let your eyes drift shut, letting the gentle warmth lull you back toward sleep. The medieval bed is not a place of privacy or solitude. It is a place of necessity, a communal space that reflects the realities of a world where resources are scarce and warmth is precious. You share your bed with your family, your animals, your dreams, and your breath weaving a fragile barrier against the cold and darkness of the medieval night. You feel the soft weight of the blanket rough against your skin, the straw shifting beneath you as you adjust the quiet sounds of your family sleeping, the soft rustle of feathers, and the occasional snap of the fire as a log settles. This is your world, a world of shared warmth, quiet endurance, and the constant gentle presence of the chickens who share your space, your warmth, and your nights. The chickens shift again, a soft cluck, as one repositions itself closer to your feet, and you can feel its small feathered body against your skin, a fragile source of warmth in the cold darkness. You sigh softly, letting the warmth seep into your bones, letting the sounds of your sleeping family and the soft rustle of feathers wash over you, grounding you in this quiet, dark moment. You think of the day ahead, the long hours of work in the fields, the endless cycle of labor that shapes your life. But for now, in this quiet, warm space, you let yourself drift, letting the warmth and the soft, living sounds of your family and your feathered companions ease you towards sleep. This is the medieval family bed, a space where chickens and children share warmth and breath, where survival is a shared effort, and where the soft cluck of a chicken in the dark becomes a lullaby. a reminder that in this world, you are never truly alone, even in your sleep. You blink in the dark, your eyes adjusting to the shifting glow of the hearth's last embers, your breath visible in the cold air that seeps through the gaps in the shutters. A child beside you mumbles in sleep, turning over, pressing closer to your side, seeking warmth. At your feet, a chicken rustles softly, the brush of feathers against your ankle, a reminder that privacy, as you know it, simply does not exist in this world. You sigh a soft cloud in the cold and pull the rough wool blanket tighter around your shoulders. In the medieval home, privacy is not a concept that shapes your life. The idea of having a room just for yourself, a door you can close a space to retreat into, is foreign here. You live your days and nights in the same space, surrounded by the sounds, smells, and movements of your family, and sometimes your animals. There's no embarrassment in sharing your life so openly. Modesty is shaped by the practical demands of survival, and the medieval world leaves little room for the luxury of personal space. When you live in a single-room hut with a dirt floor, every action, eating, working, giving birth, falling ill, dying, and yes, even moments of intimacy happens within earshot, often within sight of others. Mainstream historians remind us that in many medieval households, families adapted to this lack of privacy by developing a kind of social blindness. You know when to look away, when to pretend you don't hear, when to shift your gaze to the hearth or the small window, when your parents or neighbors need a moment of closeness. Modesty becomes a matter of where you place your attention, not about physical barriers. Your body shifts on the straw mattress, and you feel the uneven lumps beneath you. The poke of straw through the thin linen sheet, the scratch of wool against your skin. You hear the chickens shifting as well, their soft clucks blending with the quiet breathing of your family. The smell of smoke clings to everything, mixing with the earthy scent of straw and the faint tang of the animals who share your space. Historians still argue whether medieval people truly felt the absence of privacy as a hardship, or whether it was simply the way life was, an unremarkable fact of existence. Some evidence suggests that the communal nature of living created a sense of closeness and interdependence, while other accounts hint at moments of quiet frustration when individuals longed for even a few minutes alone. You stretch your legs carefully, mindful not to disturb the chickens nestled at your feet, their small warmth a comfort against the cold. You think about how even the moments you consider private bathing, relieving yourself, moments of closeness with your spouse, are shared experiences, or at least observed from a respectful distance. In many villages, the bathhouse is communal, a place where men and women might bathe separately, but never truly alone. The sounds of conversation mixing with the splash of water and the hiss of heated stones. A fringe tidbit often mentioned in medieval diaries and local records tells of makeshift privacy curtains, small cloth partitions hung around a bed, providing the illusion of seclusion in a room where everyone else still hears every whisper, every rustle of the straw. For those who could afford it, a bed with a canopy and curtains was a small luxury, a bit of privacy in a world that rarely offered any. Though, even then, the thin fabric was more symbolic than effective. You hear the soft crackle of the fire as a log shifts, the faint pop echoing in the quiet. You think about how in this world, privacy is traded for survival. And in a home where warmth is life, sharing space with your family and your chickens is not a burden, but a necessity. You let your eyes drift closed again, the warmth of your family's bodies pressed against you, the soft weight of a child's arm across your chest, the quiet cluck of a chicken shifting closer. And you understand that here, privacy is not measured by space, but by the quiet agreements of your family, to give each other small moments of dignity where they can. Your mind drifts, and you picture the way your spouse's hand will brush yours under the blankets. A small wordless comfort, a moment of connection in the dark. The children are asleep. The chickens settled, and the cold night presses against the walls kept at bay by the living warmth of your family and your feathered companions. You shift again, adjusting to the lumps of straw pulling the blanket tighter, feeling the scratch of wool, the warmth of the bodies around you, the small feathered heat of the chickens. You listen to the sounds of the room, the soft breathing, the occasional cough, the gentle cluck of a chicken, the faint sigh of the wind against the shutters, and you let it lull you toward sleep. In this world, you learn to accept that there is no privacy in the way you once imagined. Your life is lived in the open, your days and nights a shared experience, and the warmth you find here, pressed close to your family, to your chickens, to the fire, is enough. You let your mind drift, your body relaxing into the straw, your breath joining the quiet rhythm of the room. The darkness, a soft blanket that covers you all. This is your world now, a world where privacy yields to survival, where closeness becomes comfort, where the quiet sounds of your family and your chickens are the lullaby that guides you towards sleep in the cold, dark hours of the medieval night. You wake before dawn to the sound of a single soft cluck, followed by the flutter of feathers as a chicken hops down from the edge of the straw bed. Another cluck answers it, a sleepy chorus building in the shadows, feathered bodies shuffling as the promise of light teases the rim of the thatched roof. It is your alarm clock, gentle but insistent, reminding you that even in the darkness the day is coming, and with it, the rhythm of labor, hunger, and survival. You keep your eyes closed for a moment, breathing in the cold air, feeling the warmth of your family still pressed against you, the soft weight of a child's arm across your ribs, a small foot tucked under your knee. You feel the gentle warmth where a chicken had settled close to your ankles during the night, a spot of living heat in the cold, and you notice its absence as it moves toward the hearth, pecking lightly at the dirt floor, searching for scraps. In a world without clocks, the crowing of roosters and the stirring of chickens are the first signs that the day is here. Mainstream historians note how the rhythms of medieval life were deeply tied to the natural signals of the world. The shifting light, the cooling or warming of air, the calls of animals who knew the hours better than you ever could. Chickens were not only your warmth in the cold nights, but your heralds of dawn, calling you back from the depths of sleep to the relentless demands of the day. You open your eyes to the faint glow of the hearth, the coals still alive, painting the room in a dull orange that flickers with each tiny gust that slips through the cracks in the shutters. You listen to the chickens clucking softly, the rustle of feathers as they preen, peck, and shuffle, and you know that soon the rooster will announce the day with a loud, piercing cry that will leave no doubt that it is time to rise. Historians still argue whether medieval people woke with the roosters every day, or whether during the darkest winter months they clung to the warmth of their beds as long as possible, the weight of exhaustion and the bitter cold making it difficult to heed the call of dawn. Some accounts tell of households stirring in the pre-dawn darkness to tend to animals and fires, while others hint at slow mornings, the family huddling under blankets until the light forced them to rise. You shift carefully, feeling the straw crunch beneath you, careful not to wake the child nestled at your side, their small body a precious source of warmth in the cold. You glance at your spouse, eyes still closed, face soft in sleep, hair tangled from the night, and you share a quiet moment, knowing that in a few minutes the chickens will become more insistent and the day will begin in earnest. a fringe tidbit from the diaries of travelers and rural records, notes that chickens were sometimes encouraged to roost near the hearth or within the sleeping area, specifically so their morning stirring would wake the household, a natural alarm system that needed no winding and never failed to call when the first light touched the edge of the sky. You listen to the soft clucks turning into louder calls, the shifting of wings as the chickens prepare for the day. One hops back onto the edge of the bed, pecking at a stray piece of straw, its small eyes blinking in the dim light. You can feel the cold seeping back into the space it vacated, and you pull the blanket closer around your shoulders, savoring the last moments of warmth before you must rise. The rooster's crow comes sharp and clear, echoing in the small room, and you feel the ripple of movement as your family begins to stir. A child mumbles, turning over, pressing closer for a moment, before waking, their eyes blinking in the low light. Your spouse shifts, stretching a low sigh, escaping as they prepare for the day's labor. The chickens move with more purpose now, hopping down from the bed, pecking at the floor. Their soft clucks a steady background to the sounds of your family waking. You sit up, the straw shifting beneath you, the cold air biting at your skin, and you look around the room. The hearth needs feeding. The animals need tending. The day's work awaits. You reach down, brushing your hand over the feathers of a chicken that pauses near your foot. Its warmth, a small comfort against the chill. It looks up at you, blinking before moving on, pecking at the floor for any stray crumbs left from last night's meager supper. You think about how these chickens are more than just alarm clocks or warmth in the night. They are part of the fragile ecosystem that keeps your family alive. Their eggs, a precious source of food. Their bodies, a promise of nourishment in the hardest times. Their feathers, sometimes added to your bedding to soften the harshness of straw. You share your nights with them, your mornings with them, your life with them, and in return, they give you warmth, food, and the call of dawn that shapes your days. You stand slowly, the straw clinging to your clothes, your hair smelling of smoke and the earthy scent of the night. You stretch, feeling the stiffness in your back from the hard bed, and you look around the small room. Your family rising, the chickens moving, the fire waiting to be stoked back to life. This is your world, a world where the dawn comes with the soft cluck of chickens, where the cold of the night is held at bay by the warmth of your family and your feathered companions, where the rooster's crow is the beginning of another day of work and survival. You take a deep breath, the cold air filling your lungs, and you step forward, ready to meet the day that the chickens have called you to. You step across the cold dirt floor, feeling the chill creep through your feet, even through your worn wool socks, if you're fortunate enough to own a pair. The chickens scuttle around you, pecking at crumbs from last night's meal, feathers fluffing against the draft that seeps through the doorframe each time the wind shifts outside. You move carefully, mindful of the small bodies underfoot, and you pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders, trying to trap the warmth still clinging to your skin from the bed you just left. The cold is a constant companion in this medieval world. It waits for you each morning, seeps into your bones during the day, and hovers in the corners of your home at night, kept at bay only by the small hearth fire and the gathered warmth of bodies, human and animal alike. You crouch near the hearth, adding kindling to the coals, coaxing small flames back to life as smoke curls upward into the room, filling the air with its sharp, comforting scent. Mainstream historians often remind us how drafty medieval homes could be, even for those who lived in sturdier wattle and daub houses. Without insulation, without glass windows, without the luxury of sealed doors, the cold found its way in easily, riding on the wind through the cracks, seeping through the thin walls and curling around your ankles as you moved through your day. In such a world, warmth becomes a precious commodity, something you chase and cling to wherever you can find it. You glance around the room as your family stirs. Your spouse wraps a shawl around their shoulders, rubbing hands together for warmth, while the children huddle near the hearth. Small faces peeking out from beneath blankets, hair tangled and eyes sleepy. The chickens continue their quiet clucking feathers, puffed out, drawing close to the hearth to soak up the meager warmth of the early flames. Historians still argue whether medieval people spent much time indoors during the daylight hours, or whether the demands of labor kept them outside regardless of the weather. Some records suggest that on the coldest days, families would try to stay close to the hearth performing tasks like mending clothing or weaving baskets, while others insist that the demands of livestock and fields allowed no such luxury, forcing them to face the cold head-on from dawn until dusk. You wrap your cloak more tightly, the wool rough against your skin, but you welcome the scratchiness if it means keeping the cold from stealing the warmth you carry from the bed. You notice the chickens, how they tuck themselves against each other near the hearth. Tiny feathered bodies sharing warmth the same way your family does at night. They shift, ruffle their feathers, and settle content with the faint heat that rises from the coals. Their soft clucks a gentle soundtrack to the morning. A fringe tidbit found in local accounts and monastic notes tells of medieval families who would place heated stones wrapped in cloth at the foot of the bed to provide warmth during the coldest nights, a primitive hot water bottle that lost its heat quickly but offered a brief comfort. Sometimes when stones were scarce or firewood was limited, chickens themselves became the warm presence that kept frostbite from claiming toes during the long dark hours. You stand stretching the stiffness of sleep, leaving your joints as you begin your day. You move to the door, lifting the latch with cold-numbed fingers, and step outside into the dawn. The air is sharp, biting against your face, the sky a pale wash of color as the sun edges upward, light spilling slowly over the frost-covered ground. You can see your breath in the air, small clouds that vanish almost as quickly as they appear. The cold outside is deeper, sharper, and you feel it immediately cutting through your cloak, your clothes reaching for your skin. You glance back into the house where the chickens still gather near the hearth, where your family's warmth lingers in the air, mingling with the smoke, creating a small, fragile pocket of comfort in a world that offers little. You understand in this moment why bodies matter in the medieval cold, why you share your bed with your children and your spouse, why the chickens find their place among your feet at night. Warmth is survival, and in this world, survival is a communal act. You find warmth where you can in the shared breath of your family, in the soft press of a chicken's feathers against your skin, in the faint glow of the hearth that fights back the dark and the cold. You turn your face to the dawn, the cold stinging your cheeks, and you take a breath, the cold air filling your lungs, waking you fully to the day ahead. The chickens call softly from the doorway, reminding you that they will follow you soon, searching for scraps, for insects, for whatever small offerings the world might give them. Just as you search for the warmth that will carry you through another day, you step back inside the cold clinging to you like a second skin, and you move to the hearth, your hands reaching for the warmth, your family gathering around you. The chickens shuffling close, their soft clucks blending with the crackle of the fire. For a moment, the cold holds back, and you find a fragile warmth, a brief comfort in the shared heat of bodies, of breath of fire. This is your world, a world where drafty walls and cold winds define your days and nights, where warmth is a communal promise kept by family and chickens alike, where the soft rustle of feathers and the quiet breathing of your loved ones become your defense against the cold that waits outside your door. You pull your cloak tighter, meeting the eyes of your spouse, sharing a small tired smile. and you let your eyes close for just a moment, letting the warmth of the hearth, the breath of your family, and the quiet clucks of the chickens remind you that in this world, warmth is everything, and you will find it together. The day moves forward, the frost outside thawing into mud as the pale winter sun climbs higher. But the cold never truly leaves. It lingers in your bones, in the draft that curls around your ankles each time the wind shifts, in the sting of your hands as you fetch water from the well, in the breath you see each time you speak. You return to the house, your arms laden with kindling, your fingers stiff, and you see the chickens scatter to clear your path, their feathers puffing in protest as they flap away from your feet. Inside, the hearth glows softly, its warmth spreading unevenly across the room. The children huddle close, their small bodies bent over simple tasks, mending a tear in a tunic, combing out tangles from hair, winding yarn for later weaving. Your spouse tends to the pot hanging over the fire, stirring slowly, the scent of boiling grains mixing with the smoke. The chickens edge closer, pecking at stray crumbs, claiming their place in this small, warm world you fight to maintain. But the warmth you find here is not only physical. It is a fragile, layered comfort that comes from routine, from family, from the small moments that stitch the fabric of your days together. And in this medieval world, where life is shaped by the demands of survival and the relentless turning of the seasons, the church has a quiet but powerful place in your home. Even here, in the simplest acts, in the warmth you share with your family and your chickens, mainstream historians note how deeply the church was woven into the daily rhythms of medieval life shaping. When you could work, when you could rest, when you could share a bed with your spouse, and even when you could seek moments of intimacy. The church calendar ruled over your home like an invisible clock, its holy days, fast days and feast days dictating the pace of your life. You sit near the hearth, stretching out your legs, letting the warmth seep into your chilled skin as a chicken hops onto your foot. Settling there with a soft cluck, its feathers warm against your ankle. You remember that today is Wednesday, a day the church frowns upon for certain intimacies, along with Fridays, Sundays, Lent, Advent, and countless feast days that punctuate your year with rules you dare not break for fear of your soul. Historians still argue whether these prohibitions were strictly followed by the average peasant family, or if they were, as many believe, loosely interpreted when the realities of married life met the iron rule of doctrine. Confessionals and penance existed for a reason after all, and the local priest often became a quiet witness to the small negotiations that allowed families to live with both faith and the needs of the body. Your spouse sits across from you, eyes tired but warm hands, busy with mending a sleeve that tore during work in the fields. You exchange a small smile, a silent acknowledgement that the weight of the church's teachings hovers here, even in your small home, even in the quiet moments where a hand brushing against another beneath a blanket could be both comfort and a reminder of the rules that govern your lives. A fringe tidbit often whispered in village corners speaks of how midwives, older women, and even grandmothers sometimes passed down herbal remedies or advice on timing to help couples navigate the strict restrictions imposed by the church. Seeking to balance piety with the practical needs of family life in a world where survival often demanded flexibility, you shift your foot slightly, the chicken on it adjusting with a small flutter, and you feel its warmth radiate into your cold skin. You think of how the church's presence extends even here in the way your family sleeps at night, sharing warmth while observing the rhythms of faith in the whispered prayers before sleep, in the soft call of the rooster that marks the dawn of another day that will be shaped by the cycle of labor, worship, and rest. You let your eyes close for a moment, breathing in the scent of smoke, of boiling grain, of feathers and earth. You listen to the soft sounds of your family, the quiet clucks of the chickens, the crackle of the fire, and you let it ground you in this moment, reminding you that faith and survival walk side by side in this world. You open your eyes to see your spouse standing, moving toward the window, to adjust the cloth that blocks the worst of the cold, the children shifting near the hearth, the chickens shuffling and pecking, seeking crumbs and warmth. You think about how faith is not just a matter of Sundays and church bells, but is woven into your days in quiet, practical ways, in the blessing whispered over a loaf of bread, in the prayer murmured as you pull the blanket over your children at night, in the small cross traced over your chest before you close your eyes. This is your world. A world where the church is as present as the cold that seeps through the walls, as real as the warmth shared between your family and your chickens, as constant as the rooster's crow at dawn. It shapes your days and nights, your labor and your rest, your hopes and your fears, offering comfort and discipline in equal measure. You reach down, gently stroking the chicken that sits on your foot. Its feathers soft, its warmth a reminder of the small blessings that exist even in the hardest moments. You glance at your family, at the small home that shelters you, at the fire that warms you, and you let yourself feel for a moment the quiet grace that faith can bring even here in a drafty room. Filled with the soft clucks of chickens and the tired sighs of your family, in a world that demands so much from you each day, you step outside for a moment, the cold biting your cheeks as the gray sky hangs low, heavy with the promise of snow later in the week. The chickens scatter around your feet, their claws scraping softly across the frozen ground as they peck for seeds and insects, always searching, always moving, their small bodies puffed up to hold in every scrap of warmth. You watch them for a moment, the way they tilt their heads, the way they fluff their feathers, and you find a moment of quiet there, a tiny pause in the relentless push of your day. You know that the day will be long filled with chores that leave your back aching and your hands raw gathering wood, hauling water, mending tools, tending the animals, patching the roof before the snow comes. But as you watch the chickens, you think of the small joys that still exist in this hard life. The moments of laughter, of gentle teasing, of shared smiles, and even moments of quiet affection stolen in the crowded spaces of your home. When you and your spouse find each other's gaze across the room, a reminder that you are more than your labor, you walk back inside, the warmth of the hearth wrapping around you, and you see your spouse smiling softly as they knead dough for the day's bread, the children rolling small balls of leftover dough in their hands, giggling as they shape them into clumsy figures to roast on the edge of the hearth. The chickens wander back in, pecking near the children's feet, searching for crumbs, their soft clucks filling the space with a gentle soundtrack of life. Mainstream historians note that romance in the medieval world was often a practical matter, marriages arranged for land alliances or family obligations, affection growing slowly, if it grew at all. Yet within these unions, moments of tenderness still bloomed, quiet gestures and shared smiles, becoming the language of love in a world where privacy was a luxury few could afford. You sit beside your spouse, helping shape the dough, your hands brushing theirs, occasionally a quiet comfort in the routine. A child climbs into your lap, small arms wrapping around your neck, their hair smelling of smoke and straw, their weight grounding you in the moment. You glance at your spouse, catching their eye, a soft smile shared between you, and in that moment, you remember who you are beyond the labor, beyond the cold, beyond the rules and rituals that shape your days. Historians still argue whether couples found true intimacy within the crowded spaces of medieval homes, or whether affection was something that had to be hidden, stolen in the quiet moments when children slept and the chickens settled. Some records speak of couples who would rise before dawn, seeking a brief moment alone near the hearth, the only time when the world felt quiet enough for whispered words and soft laughter. You feel the warmth of the child in your lap, the heat of the hearth on your skin, the brush of your spouse's hand against yours as they pass you a piece of dough. And you think of the small ways you find love in this world: a shared piece of bread, a cloak pulled tighter around your shoulders on a cold morning, a whispered joke that makes you smile despite your exhaustion. A fringe tidbit from local songs and poems tells of couples who would weave small tokens for each other: braided cords, carved wooden beads, small pouches of herbs meant to bring comfort or health, exchanging them quietly away from the eyes of others, a promise that even in a world of arranged matches, affection could find a place to bloom. You look around your home, the chickens pecking quietly, the children laughing softly, your spouse's eyes warm as they glance at you, and you let yourself feel the comfort of this small world you have built together. The cold is still there. The work is still waiting. The demands of survival are relentless. But in this moment, there is warmth. There is love. There is the quiet joy of being together. The chickens move closer to the hearth, their feathers ruffling as they settle, the children reaching out to stroke their soft backs, giggling at the way the chickens cluck in response. Your spouse sits beside you, the warmth of their body a quiet comfort, and you lean into them for a moment, resting your head against their shoulder, letting your eyes close as you breathe in the scent of wood smoke, fresh bread, and the faint earthy musk of the chickens near your feet. You think of the long nights, the way you share your bed with your family, and the chickens, the way you press close to each other for warmth, the way your spouse's hand finds yours beneath the blankets, a quiet promise that even in the hardest moments, you are not alone. You remember the soft laughter, the whispered words, the moments when you wake in the dark and hear your spouse's soft breathing beside you, the gentle cluck of a chicken shifting near your feet, and you let yourself smile, knowing that these small moments are what carry you through the days. This is your world. A world where romance is not grand gestures or declarations beneath moonlit skies, but the quiet comfort of shared warmth, the small smiles exchanged across a crowded room, the gentle press of a hand against yours as you work side by side, the soft laughter that rises even in the coldest dawn. You look at your family, at the chickens settled near the hearth, and you let yourself feel for a moment the warmth that lives here in this small, quiet world you have built together. You rise from your place by the hearth, brushing crumbs from your lap as the warmth of your child's weight fades, replaced by the cool air that clings to every corner of the room. The chickens stir, feathers fluffing as they peck near your feet, searching for stray crumbs with quiet determination. The fire crackles softly, sending up a brief comforting glow that illuminates the worn faces of your family, the lines of work and weather etched into every crease. The day moves on, and so do you. You step outside into the pale daylight to check on the animals. The ground still damp from last night's frost, your breath a cloud in the morning chill. You gather water, tend to the goats, and check the fences, your hands raw from the cold, your fingers stiff as you pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The chickens follow you out, scratching at the dirt, clucking softly, their presence a quiet, constant reminder of the rhythm of your life. When you return, your spouse has begun cleaning the straw bedding, lifting the top layers to shake them out to scatter the dust and the small, unwelcome guests that find their way into your bed despite your best efforts. The children help carrying handfuls of straw to the door to be aired. their laughter rising in the cold air as they chase each other across the yard, a brief moment of joy in the long day of labor. Mainstream historians often remind us that medieval beds were not the plush, comfortable sanctuaries you imagine today. They were simple wooden frames, sometimes little more than a raised platform filled with straw that needed regular turning and replacing to avoid the worst of the pests that inevitably found a home there. The linen sheets, if you had them, were coarse and scratchy, the blankets heavy, but thin, patched over and over as the years wore them down. You returned to help your spouse, lifting handfuls of straw, shaking them out, letting the cold air carry away the dust before layering them back onto the frame. You notice the chickens hopping closer, pecking at stray bits of grain or insects uncovered in the process, their small bodies moving with quiet focus. You pause watching them, remembering how even in the dark of night they bring warmth, their soft feathers brushing against your legs, their quiet breathing blending with the sounds of your family sleeping. Historians still argue whether medieval people understood the connection between pests and health. But there is no debate that they knew discomfort well. Lice, fleas, and bed bugs were a fact of life, a nuisance that was managed rather than defeated, part of the daily struggle that shaped the rhythms of your days. You shake out the straw, hoping to scatter the worst of them, to make the bed a little more comfortable, even if only for a few nights. A fringe tidbit from household records and local stories tells of families who would sprinkle herbs like lavender, mint, or rosemary into the straw, hoping to discourage pests and mask the scent of sweat smoke and earth that clung to the bedding. It was a small comfort, a fragile attempt at cleanliness and calm in a world that often offered neither. You finish layering the straw, pressing it down with your hands, the smell of dried grass and herbs rising around you, mixing with the scent of the hearth's smoke and the faint, earthy musk of the chickens as they peck near your feet. You spread the linen sheet over the straw, smoothing it down as your spouse folds the blanket, placing it at the foot of the bed, ready for the night to come. The chickens settle again as the work is finished, finding their spots near the hearth, their feathers ruffling as they nestle down their soft clucks, a gentle soundtrack to your family's quiet conversation as the day moves on. You see your children watching them, their small hands reaching out to stroke the soft feathers, their laughter softening the edges of the hard day. You think of the nights to come, of the way your family will gather on this bed, the straw rustling beneath you, the warmth of your children pressed against your sides, the soft weight of your spouse's arm draped across your waist, the chickens settling at your feet, bringing their fragile warmth into the cold night. You think of how the rustle of straw and the soft clucks of the chickens will become your lullaby, the rhythm of your breathing joining with theirs as you drift toward sleep. You glance at your spouse, catching their eye, sharing a small, tired smile, and you let yourself feel for a moment the comfort that comes from these small rituals, these quiet acts of care that shape your life. Cleaning the straw, feeding the fire, sharing the warmth of your bodies and the soft presence of the chickens. These are the acts that define your days and your nights. The acts that remind you that even in the hardest moments, there is comfort to be found. This is your world, a world where straw and feathers become your bedding, where the soft clucks of chickens blend with the laughter of your children, where the cold is held back by the shared warmth of bodies and breath, where the small comforts you create are enough to carry you through the long nights and the hard days. You look around your home at the hearth that glows softly at the bed, freshly layered with straw at the chickens settled nearby, and you take a deep breath, letting the scent of herbs and smoke fill your lungs. You feel the quiet comfort of this moment, the warmth of your family, the soft sounds of your small world, and you let yourself smile, knowing that in this life, these small moments are everything. The afternoon light fades into a soft gray, slipping quietly through the cracks in the shutters, brushing against the packed dirt floor where the chickens scratch lazily, their clucks quieter now as they search for the last crumbs of the day. You sit near the hearth, your hands busy with mending your back, resting against the cool wall as you listen to the comforting sounds of your home. The crackle of the fire, the hushed laughter of your children, the gentle rustle of straw as the chickens shift and settle near your feet. You glance at your spouse who sits across from you, darning a sock with practiced hands, eyes focused, but soft moving with the calm rhythm of someone who has done this countless times. Your children have moved to the corner, using small pieces of scrap wood to build a tiny pen for their favorite chicken, a giggling project that leaves feathers and laughter in its wake. The warmth of the fire and the soft weight of the day settle over you, a reminder that despite the hardships, moments of peace find their way into your life. Mainstream historians note that in medieval Europe, livestock were more than just future meals. They were living banks, their bodies holding the promise of food income and even survival through the harshest winters. Chickens, in particular, were valuable not just for their eggs, but for the steady, quiet way they contributed to a household's resilience. A family with chickens was a family with the hope of breakfast, with the possibility of trading eggs for salt or bread, with the knowledge that even in the leanest seasons, there would be a small gift of nourishment waiting in the straw. You watch your children as they giggle, gently scooping up a chicken to place it in their makeshift pen, their small hands, careful, their faces bright with delight. The chicken clucks in mild protest, flapping its wings before settling, accepting its role in their play with the calm of a creature accustomed to the chaos of a busy home. You smile softly, letting the moment ease the tension in your shoulders, letting it remind you why you continue to rise each day, to work, to endure. Historians still argue whether medieval people formed genuine attachments to their animals or saw them solely as tools for survival. But the stories passed down in villages tell of favorite goats, beloved cows and chickens, with names, their personalities noted and remembered. In a world where life was often short and harsh, these small connections offered warmth that was not just physical, but emotional, a quiet companionship that eased the loneliness of long days and longer winters. You reach out and stroke the feathers of the chicken nearest to you, feeling the soft warmth beneath your fingers, the steady heartbeat of a creature that has shared your nights, your warmth, your breath. You remember how it settled near your feet last night, how its small body radiated heat into your cold skin, how its soft clucks in the darkness became a gentle reassurance that you were not alone, even in the quietest hours of the night. A fringe tidbit from local tales tells of families who would allow their chickens to roost in the rafters of their homes, believing that their presence would bring good luck, that the soft sounds of their feathers rustling above would ward off evil spirits, that their gentle clucks would protect the household as they slept. Whether superstition or tradition, the chickens became part of the family's nightly rhythm, their presence a layer of comfort against the uncertainties of the dark. You look around your home, the glow of the hearth casting long shadows across the walls. The chickens now settled in quiet groups. Their feathers fluff their eyes half closed as they rest. Your spouse finishes mending the sock, setting it aside with a small sigh, glancing at you with a tired but contented smile that says more than words ever could. Your children drift closer, their laughter softer, now their movements slower. As the day winds down, the promise of evening, bringing with it the comfort of routine. You know that soon, the chores of the evening will begin feeding the animals, closing the shutters against the cold, banking the fire to keep it alive through the night, preparing the simple supper that will warm your family before you settle into the straw for another long night. The chickens will follow you, their soft clucks a part of the evening song of your home, their small bodies finding their places near the hearth, near your feet, near the warmth that you share. This is your world, a world where livestock are wealth, where chickens are warmth, where the quiet companionship of these small creatures becomes a thread that weaves through your days and nights, connecting you to the rhythm of the earth, to the cycles of dawn and dusk, to the fragile, persistent hope that lives even in the hardest seasons. You rise slowly, your body stiff from a day of work, your hands rough from the cold and the labor, but your heart steady as you glance at your family, at the chickens settling near the hearth, at the soft glow of the fire that holds back the dark. You move to your spouse, pressing your hand against theirs for a moment, sharing a quiet strength, a promise that you will continue to rise, to work, to endure together. You step toward the hearth, adding a small piece of wood to the flames, watching as the sparks dance upward, casting brief flashes of light across the room. The chickens shuffle closer, drawn to the warmth, their soft clucks a reminder of the simple living wealth they bring, of the warmth they offer in the coldest nights, of the hope they carry in each egg they lay, in each gentle rustle of feathers as they settle near your feet. This is your world, and as you prepare for the night to come, you let yourself feel the quiet comfort of it, the warmth of your family, the gentle presence of the chickens, the soft glow of the fire, the promise that even in the hardest times, there is warmth, there is hope, and there is the soft, steady rhythm of life that continues, one quiet breath, one gentle cluck, one shared night at a time. The sky outside deepens into a darker gray, the cold air slipping under the door in small gusts that kiss your ankles as you move about the room. The chickens sense the coming of night before your children do, beginning to settle in tighter groups. Feathers puffed up heads, tucking under wings as they prepare for the long hours of darkness. Their soft rustle becomes part of your evening, a reminder that the day is ending, that it is time to close the shutters, bank the fire, and ready your small world for another cold medieval night. You step outside to bring in the last of the wood, your breath swirling around you in small clouds, your fingers stiff as they grasp the rough logs. You glance around your yard, seeing the chickens scuttling toward the open door, eager to return to the warmth of the hearth and the comfort of familiar shadows. The wind tugs at your cloak as you step back inside, closing the door behind you with a soft thud that seals away the night for now. Mainstream historians tell us that for medieval travelers, the night meant finding shelter wherever possible, often in inns, where bed sharing with strangers was as common as it was uncomfortable. A warm place to sleep was a rare luxury on the road, and even the simplest inns were spaces where travelers might find themselves pressed shoulder to shoulder on a straw mattress, grateful for the warmth, even if the company was less than ideal. You think of those travelers now as you look at your bed layered with fresh straw, the linen sheet smoothed over it, the heavy blanket folded neatly at the foot. You imagine how in a crowded inn, the warmth of strangers might replace the warmth of family, how the shared breath and body heat would be a small comfort against the chill that pressed against the thin walls. Historians still argue whether the discomfort of these arrangements was outweighed by the necessity of warmth. But many accounts tell of friendships struck up in the dark, of whispered stories and quiet laughter of strangers who became allies for a single night. United by the simple desire to greet the morning alive and warm, you move to the hearth, adding another log to the fire, watching as the flames catch, spreading their glow across the small room. The chickens gather near the warmth, their soft clucks blending with the crackle of the wood, their small bodies forming a living ring of quiet comfort around the fire. You feel the warmth on your face, the cold fading from your skin, as you stand there breathing in the scent of smoke and earth. A fringe tidbit from the records of medieval inns notes that some establishments would place chickens in the rooms to help control insects, the birds pecking at fleas and other pests. A practical, if unusual, form of pest management that blended necessity with the comforting presence of the familiar cluck and flutter of feathers in the dark. You glance at your children as they settle near the fire, their eyes heavy with sleep, their small bodies curling close to each other, seeking warmth in the glow of the flames. Your spouse sits nearby, mending a small tear in a tunic. Their movements slow and steady, the day's work etched into the lines of their face, the calm of evening softening their features. You think of the travelers who might knock on your door on a stormy night, seeking shelter, offering coins or trade in exchange for a corner of your floor near the fire, a space among the chickens, and the warmth of your family. In this world, hospitality is as much a duty as it is a kindness. And you know that if a traveler came, you would open your door, make space on the straw, share your warmth, your fire, your bread, and your small world with them for a night. The chickens settle, their feathers ruffling, as they nestle down, their eyes closing, as the warmth of the fire reaches them, as the quiet of the evening wraps around your family, like a soft, familiar cloak. You hear the wind outside, pressing against the walls, whispering through the cracks. But inside, there is warmth. There is light. There is the quiet sound of breathing, of feathers, of the crackle of wood, and you let yourself breathe in the peace of it. You move to your spouse, brushing your hand against theirs, a silent moment of connection that needs no words. A reminder that in this life, in this world, you face each day together. You endure each night, side by side. You help the children prepare for bed, guiding them to the straw mattress, pulling the heavy blanket over them as they curl close, their eyes drifting shut as the warmth of the day, the softness of the fire, and the comfort of routine ease them into sleep. The chickens find their places at the foot of the bed, settling near your feet, their soft bodies radiating warmth, their quiet clucks fading into the sounds of sleep. You feel their presence, a gentle weight, a small comfort that blends with the warmth of your family, a reminder that in this cold, hard world, even the smallest creatures can offer warmth, can share in the quiet intimacy of a family's night. This is your world, a world where the night brings with it the promise of rest, where the warmth of your family and the soft presence of the chickens become your shield against the cold that waits outside, where the quiet moments before sleep are filled with the soft sounds of breathing of feathers, settling of the fire's glow, dancing across the walls. You lie down, the straw shifting beneath you, the blanket heavy over your shoulders, the warmth of your family pressed close, the small weight of a chicken against your feet, and you close your eyes, letting the quiet of the night carry you towards sleep, letting the warmth you have gathered wrap around you like a promise, like a prayer, like a soft, living comfort that will hold you through the night. The glow of the fire flickers lower shadows dancing across the wattle walls as the last warmth of the day fades into the cold hush of night. You lie on the straw mattress, the rustle of the dried grass beneath you, a soft reminder of the world's rough edges, the blanket pulled up to your chin as your children press close on either side. At your feet, the chickens shift feathers, brushing against your ankles, a living weight of warmth that eases the cold creeping in from the corners of the room. Your spouse settles beside you, the familiar scent of smoke and wool mingling with the earthy musk of straw, the gentle touch of a hand on your arm, grounding you in the quiet of the moment. The wind sighs against the shutters, a low, steady hum that reminds you of the world outside the frost on the fields. The bite of cold in the air, the darkness that holds the village in its careful, watchful silence. Mainstream historians remind us that in medieval Europe, the rhythm of life was as much shaped by the church calendar as it was by the turning of the seasons. Holy days, feast days, fast days, and saints' days punctuated the year, dictating when you could work, when you could rest, and even when you could share intimacy with your spouse. The church's influence reached into the heart of your home, into the quiet moments before sleep, into the choices you made each day, each night, each hour. You think of the days marked with caution. Wednesdays and Fridays, days of penance and prayer. The Sundays that called for rest. The long stretches of Lent and Advent, where the church asked for restraint, where the calendar became a quiet overseer in the privacy of your home. You think of how you and your spouse have learned to navigate these rhythms, how you have found small ways to honor faith while tending to the warmth and connection that holds your family together in the cold. Historians still argue whether medieval families adhered strictly to the prohibitions laid out by the church, or if, as many suspect, they found quiet compromises, understanding that survival, intimacy, and faith often needed to find balance in the harsh realities of daily life. The confessional was there for a reason, and whispers shared between spouses were often followed by whispered prayers. Small negotiations between faith and the needs of the heart. You turned slightly on the straw, careful not to wake the child nestled against your shoulder, your hand brushing against the soft hair as you adjust the blanket. The chickens stir at your feet, shifting closer to your warmth, their feathers pressing softly against your legs, a quiet, comforting pressure that reminds you that you are not alone, that you are part of a living circle of breath and warmth of faith and survival of softness and strength. A fringe tidbit from parish records tells of priests who would quietly advise couples on how to balance the church's rules with the practical needs of family life, offering guidance that was both compassionate and rooted in faith, acknowledging that in a world where each day was a struggle, the warmth of human connection was a blessing, not a burden. You listen to the sounds of your home as sleep begins to pull at your mind, the soft breathing of your children, the gentle sigh of your spouse beside you, the quiet cluck of a chicken adjusting its position at your feet, the low crackle of the last ember in the hearth, the wind humming outside like a lullaby. You let these sounds wrap around you, a soft cocoon of warmth and familiarity, a promise that even in the coldest nights, you are held by the life you have built here. You think of the rhythm of your days shaped by the calendar of the church and the demands of the land, the seasons of planting and harvest, the moments of feast and fast, the shared meals, the shared prayers, the shared warmth of bodies pressed close beneath a thin blanket on a straw mattress. You think of the way you have learned to find comfort in these rhythms, the way the small rituals of your faith and your family have become anchors in the endless tide of days. Your spouse's hand finds yours beneath the blanket, a small quiet gesture that speaks of trust, of partnership, of the unspoken understanding that you face each day together, that you share, not just your labor and your meals, but your breath, your warmth, your faith, your hope. You squeeze their hand gently. your eyes drifting closed as the warmth of your family and the soft weight of the chickens at your feet ground you in the present, in the quiet promise of this night. This is your world, a world where faith and family weave together in the hush of the night, where the soft clucks of chickens blend with the breathing of your children, where the warmth of your spouse's hand in yours becomes a prayer in itself, a promise that even in the hardest times, you are not alone. You let your eyes close the darkness, a soft blanket, the sounds of your home, a lullaby, the warmth of bodies and feathers, a comfort that holds back the cold. You drift towards sleep, the rhythm of your breath joining the quiet symphony of the night, the cluck of a chicken, the sigh of your spouse, the soft shift of a child against your side, the low crackle of an ember, the wind outside the hush of faith that holds your home in gentle silence. You let the warmth wrap around you, the promise of tomorrow, waiting just beyond the dawn, the comfort of your faith and your family, carrying you into the quiet, soft darkness of sleep. The night deepens, pressing softly against the walls of your small home, while inside the warmth of your family and the soft rustle of feathers create a world apart from the cold darkness outside. You shift slightly the straw beneath you, crackling as it adjusts to your weight. Your children sighing in their sleep as they nestle closer, seeking the comfort of your warmth in the cool air that drifts from the corners of the room. A chicken at your feet moves, feathers brushing against your ankle, a soft cluck rising in the stillness before settling again into quiet. You can feel its small warmth radiating into your skin, a living barrier against the cold that seeps up from the packed earth floor, reminding you of the simple shared intimacy of this medieval life. Mainstream historians remind us that medieval people held a deep connection to dreams, viewing them as whispers from God, messages from ancestors, or warnings of the future. Dreams were not dismissed or ignored. They were discussed, interpreted, and sometimes feared, their meanings woven into the fabric of daily life. You too listen to your dreams, their lingering impressions felt in your chest as you wake in the dark, the soft sounds of your home grounding you as you slowly open your eyes to the glow of the hearth. You remember how your grandmother told you to sleep with a small bundle of herbs under your pillow to ward off nightmares, how she would murmur blessings before sleep, crossing herself with quiet reverence as she lay down beside you in the crowded bed, chickens roosting near her feet, her prayers mixing with the soft clucks in the dark. Historians still argue whether these dream beliefs were rooted in the church's teachings or in the older folk traditions that ran beneath the surface of medieval faith. But in your world, the two are blended seamlessly. A bad dream sends you to the priest for a whispered prayer, but you also reach for rosemary or lavender to tuck under your pillow to keep away the spirits that might wander near as you sleep. You feel the rough weave of the blanket between your fingers, pulling it tighter around your shoulders as you let your eyes drift shut, letting the soft breathing of your family guide you toward the fragile edge of sleep. The chickens stir now, and then feathers shifting a quiet cluck, breaking the hush before settling again, a reminder of their gentle watch in the darkness. A fringe tidbit found in the stories of travelers and midwives tells of families who believed that chickens themselves could guard against bad dreams, their presence near the bed keeping away evil spirits, their soft clucks and rustling feathers creating a protective circle of warmth and sound that guided the family safely through the dangers of the night. You think of how your children sometimes wake in the dark, frightened by a dream they cannot explain, their small voices calling out in fear, their hands reaching for yours. You hold them close, their trembling bodies pressed against you as you whisper reassurances, your voice low and soft, reminding them that they are safe, that the chickens are here, that the warmth of the fire and the prayers of your family guard them as they sleep. You remember how your spouse will sometimes wake with a start. Breath quick, eyes wide in the glow of the dying fire, a dream still clinging to their mind. You reach for their hand, grounding them, reminding them of the present, of the warmth of your shared bed, of the soft, living warmth of the chickens that press against your feet, of the simple truth that you are together, that the night will pass, that dawn will come. You listen to the sounds of your home, the breathing of your children, the sigh of your spouse, the soft cluck of the chickens, the low crackle of the embers in the hearth, the distant hum of the wind outside. These sounds become your lullaby, a reminder of your place in the world, of the fragile but persistent warmth that you hold against the darkness. You let your thoughts drift as you lie in the straw, your mind moving through the memories of your day, the small moments of laughter, the shared smiles, the quiet touches that remind you of your strength, of your resilience, of the love that holds your family together, even in the hardest seasons. You think of the chickens, their small warm bodies pressed against your feet, their feathers soft against your skin, their presence a reminder that even the smallest creatures offer comfort, that even in the coldest nights, warmth can be found in the simplest places. This is your world, a world where dreams are part of your faith, where the rustle of feathers and the soft clucks of chickens blend with prayers whispered before sleep, where the warmth of your family and the glow of the hearth become a fragile but powerful shield against the darkness outside. You let yourself breathe deeply and slowly, letting the warmth of the blanket, the softness of your children's breathing, the quiet presence of your spouse, and the gentle companionship of the chickens ease you towards sleep. You close your eyes, the darkness soft and gentle, the sounds of your home guiding you, the warmth of the straw beneath you and the blanket above you, wrapping around you like a promise, like a prayer, like a quiet song that will carry you through the night, through your dreams, through the soft hours of darkness, until the rooster calls the dawn and you rise again to greet the day. The dawn begins to tease the edges of the thatched roof, a thin, pale light slipping through the shutters, catching on the smoke-stained beams above as the world gently stirs awake. You lie still for a moment, listening to the soft hush of your home, the layered breathing of your family, the quiet cluck and feather shuffle of the chickens as they sense the coming day before even the rooster dares to call. Your eyes open to the glow of the hearth's last coals, a soft orange pulse in the grayness, and you take a slow breath, letting the warmth of your children pressed against your sides ease the stiffness in your back from a night on straw. You feel the soft weight of a chicken nestled near your feet, its feathers warm its small body, shifting as it adjusts to the faint light, and you let your hand rest lightly on its back, feeling the tiny heartbeat, steady and quiet, a reminder that you have made it through another night. Mainstream historians remind us that medieval sleep patterns often followed the rhythm of the natural world, with people rising in the dark to tend to animals or sit by the fire, sometimes returning to bed for a second sleep before dawn fully broke. These segmented nights were a quiet acceptance of the world's pace, a way of living that honored the slow approach of light and the needs of the creatures who shared your space. You shift carefully, pulling the blanket tighter around your shoulders, mindful not to wake the child tucked under your arm, their small face soft with sleep, a faint smile on their lips as they dream. Your spouse's hand brushes yours beneath the covers, a small touch of warmth and reassurance, a silent promise that you will meet the day together, as you always do. Historians still argue whether this segmented sleep was universal across medieval Europe or more common in certain regions. But stories passed down through families and found in diaries suggest that rising in the darkness, whispering prayers tending to a restless child, or sharing a quiet conversation with a spouse was a familiar rhythm of the night woven into the fabric of daily life. You hear the rooster outside give a cautious first call, a soft crow that breaks the hush, testing the air, waiting for the light to answer. The chickens at your feet shift feathers, rustling heads, lifting eyes, blinking slowly as they adjust to the pale dawn. One gives a quiet cluck, answered by another, a gentle conversation that welcomes the morning with more grace than the rooster's sharp cry ever could. A fringe tidbit found in local folklore tells of families who believed the first crow of the rooster held power, marking the moment when the world turned from the domain of spirits back to the realm of the living. Children were taught to stay quiet until the rooster called to let the night spirits return to their shadows, to let the dawn settle before voices rose in the home. You sit up slowly, the straw shifting beneath you, the blanket falling to your lap as the cold air brushes against your skin. You feel the chicken at your feet move, stepping carefully across the straw feathers, brushing your ankle, a soft, living weight that anchors you to the present. Your children stir eyes, blinking open small hands, reaching for warmth, for reassurance, for the comfort of your presence. You smile softly, brushing a strand of hair from your child's face, smoothing it back with gentle fingers as you murmur a quiet good morning. Your spouse sits up beside you, their hair tangled, their eyes warm with sleep, and you share a small, tired smile that carries the promise of the day to come. The chores, to complete the meals, to prepare the small moments of laughter that will find their way into the spaces between labor and fatigue. The chickens begin to move with more purpose, now stepping carefully across the straw, clucking softly, searching for crumbs, for warmth, for the small beginnings of the day. You stand stretching your arms above your head, feeling the stiffness ease as you move toward the hearth, adding a piece of kindling to the coals, watching as the small flame catches, brightening the room with a soft glow that pushes back the last of the night. This is your world, a world where dawn comes not with alarms or clocks, but with the soft rustle of feathers, the cautious crow of a rooster, the warmth of your children's breath against your skin, the quiet promise of your spouse's hand in yours, the gentle glow of a rekindled fire that holds back the cold. You move about your small home, helping the children rise, brushing the straw from their hair, pulling cloaks around their shoulders to hold the warmth close as the morning chill finds its way through the shutters. Your spouse feeds the chickens, scattering a few precious crumbs, watching as the birds peck eagerly, their feathers fluffing their soft clucks, rising in the hush of dawn. You think of the day ahead, the work waiting in the fields, the water to draw from the well, the bread to bake, the small repairs to make before the snow comes. You think of the rhythm that will guide you, the small prayers whispered over bread, the soft laughter shared as you work the promise of the warmth you will find again tonight. As you gather around the hearth, as you settle into the straw, as the chickens nestle once more at your feet, this is your world. A world where dawn is a gentle unfolding, where the warmth of your family and the quiet presence of your chickens become your shield against the cold, your comfort in the hardship, your small, persistent hope that carries you from night to day, from darkness to light, from breath to breath. 2. You let yourself pause for a moment in the soft glow of the morning, the warmth of the fire on your face, the soft sounds of your family moving around you, the quiet cluck of a chicken as it settles near the hearth and you take a deep breath. letting the promise of this new day fill your lungs, letting it carry you forward into the dawn. The morning has settled, bringing with it a pale, steady light that seeps gently into your small home, softening the hard edges of the day ahead. You move through your morning tasks with quiet familiarity, gathering water, feeding the animals, sweeping the floor where bits of straw and feather have drifted during the night. The chickens follow you closely, their soft clucks weaving through the hush, a living thread connecting each step of your morning to the comfort of their presence. You pause near the hearth, adding another piece of wood to the small, steady fire, watching as the flames catch and grow, brightening the room with a glow that chases away the last remnants of the cold dawn air. Your children gather near the warmth, their faces sleepy but content, small hands outstretched to capture the heat. Their laughter rising in quiet bubbles as they share a piece of warm breadcrumbs scattering across the floor. Mainstream historians note that medieval mornings were filled with tasks, each one necessary for the survival of the family. Each one shaped by the rhythms of the season, the weather, the demands of the land. There is water to carry animals, to feed, bread to bake, and tools to mend. And each task is performed with the understanding that these small acts build the foundation of your life each day, a piece of the larger story of endurance and quiet hope. You look around your home, the chickens moving through the room, pecking at stray crumbs, their feathers catching the light, their presence a reminder of the fragile living wealth they represent. Each egg they lay is a gift, a promise of nourishment, a moment of grace in a world that often offers little. Their warmth in the night, their soft clucks in the dawn, their watchful eyes as they follow your movements, all become part of the quiet companionship that fills your days. Historians still argue whether medieval people found contentment in these small moments, or whether they lived with a constant sense of hardship. But as you brush your hand across the feathers of a chicken near your feet, you know that within the hardship, there is also comfort, and within the routine there is also peace. A fringe tidbit found in rural records tells of children naming their family's chickens, weaving stories around their personalities, turning them into companions rather than just livestock. It is not unusual for a child to sneak a piece of bread to a favorite hen, to whisper secrets into soft feathers, to find comfort in the quiet cluck of a chicken resting near them during the long days of winter. You see it now in the way your youngest child gently picks up a small hen, cradling it in their arms as they move near the hearth, their face resting against soft feathers, their eyes closing for a moment in the warmth of that simple embrace. The chicken settles, accepting the gentle hold, its eyes blinking slowly, its small body warm against your child's chest. Your spouse catches your eye, a soft smile shared between you, a moment of wordless understanding that in this life, these small comforts are everything. You move to the table, sharing the last of the morning bread, your hands brushing against theirs as you pass the small loaf. The warmth of their touch, a quiet reminder of your partnership, your shared strength, your quiet commitment to face each day together. You watch the chickens as they settle again near the hearth, their feathers ruffling their soft clucks, blending with the sounds of your family, the laughter of your children, the crackle of the fire, the hush of the winter wind against the walls. You let yourself pause, letting the warmth of the moment sink into your bones, letting it remind you of the quiet resilience that carries you through the cold days, the long nights, the hard seasons. This is your world, a world where dawn brings chores, but also moments of connection, where the cold brings hardship, but also the comfort of shared warmth, where the chickens at your feet are more than just animals. They are part of the living heartbeat of your home, part of the fragile, persistent hope that keeps you rising each day. You step outside for a moment, the cold air sharp against your cheeks, the sky a pale blue above the fields, quiet and waiting. The chickens follow you, their small feet leaving tracks in the frost-dusted dirt, their feathers fluffed against the cold, their heads lifting as they search for insects, for seeds, for the small gifts the earth might offer them today. You take a deep breath, the cold air filling your lungs, the promise of the day ahead steady in your chest. You know there is work to do, and you know it will be hard, but you also know that tonight you will return to the warmth of your home, to the quiet companionship of your family, to the soft clucks of the chickens as they settle near your feet, to the gentle glow of the hearth that will hold back the darkness once again. You step back inside, closing the door against the cold, the warmth of the fire and the sounds of your family wrapping around you, grounding you in the simple, persistent rhythm of this medieval life. You let yourself smile, letting the moment carry you forward, letting the warmth of your family, the soft presence of the chickens, and the quiet promise of tomorrow guide you into the day. You lie down once more as the evening quiet returns, the soft glow of the hearth dimming into a comforting hush. Your children are curled beside you, their breathing steady, their warmth seeping into your tired bones. The chickens have settled near your feet, feathers ruffling as they tuck their heads under their wings, becoming small living bundles of warmth in the cold night air. Your spouse's hand finds yours beneath the blanket, and you feel their thumb brush against your skin, a small promise that tomorrow you will rise together again to greet the dawn. You listen to the gentle cluck of a chicken shifting on the straw, the soft sigh of your child as they turn in their sleep, the last faint crackle of the fire as the embers fade into glowing memory. You let your breath slow, letting each inhale become a soft wave of warmth, letting each exhale release the weight of the day. The darkness around you feels gentle now, not heavy, but like a warm cloak drawn around your shoulders, keeping the world outside as you drift toward rest. You think of the quiet strength it takes to live each day, the simple courage of tending to your family, of rising to the cold dawn, of finding comfort in the small warmth of a chicken at your feet. You let this warmth hold you, letting it ease your thoughts, letting it remind you that you are safe, that you are here, that you have made it through another day. Your eyes grow heavy, the sounds of your home lulling you into calm, the breath of your family, and the gentle clucks beside you, guiding you softly, gently into sleep.